According to studies, an average of 1 in 20 live with this condition at least once in their lifetime, with very few showing signs of any cure. I'm talking of rare diseases. February is a month which is set aside a day to mark the importance on creating awareness on rare diseases. Well, February 29th, that is a leap year as we all know. Well, this day, the goal of this day is to create awareness among the common public about the labyrinth of complexities that the rare disease is, and also to encourage researchers and decision makers to put in more efforts to make the lives of those living with it easier. And on this episode of The Next Guest from the 973 show, I'm very honored to have with us one of the experts in Bahrain, a woman who holds this topic very close to her heart, Dr. Cristina Skrypnyk with us. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Honor is on my side. I'm glad to meet you and your team.
Thank you, Doctor. When it comes to rare diseases, I cannot think of anybody else but you.
Thank you.
Consultant. You work as a consultant with the Jawhara Centre and also an associate professor with the AGU with a long term in the country. And as I said in the beginning, February 29th is a day set for the awareness of International Rare Diseases Day. Unfortunately, that's a leap year. As always, health is the last priority, once in 4 years. But Bahrain has always been very active in celebrating or marking this day on February 28th, 22nd, 24th, isn't it?
True.
And I think this year is no different. So let's begin with that. Tell us about what's happening this year on Rare Diseases Day.
Yeah. So I would just say that we started to do big national campaigns for rare disorders in 2013 in Bahrain. And this year is the 12th year since we are doing that in the month of February. This year we will have a big campaign in the Avenue Mall on 24th of February from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. in the evening, with plenty activities for general public, for adults and for children. And then on 29, on the Rare Disease Day itself,
and this year happens to be a day.
To be this year, we will have a big event in City Centre.
Okay.
With the same similar activities, with the goal to reach as many people possible.
That's right. Okay.
And we will also have full next week in between 24th and 29, we will have some events in private universities to speak with young generation, also in some private institutions. I mean, we are coming close to the public in different arms in order to spread awareness as much possible.
Right. 12 years, yes, and you will be telling us later in this talk about how are we and where are we. But before that, tell us for the common public, what is a rare disease, and tell us a little more to educate us, please.
Based on the frequency, a rare disease, it's a disease who is less than 1 in 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. But the fact is just in the book. There are disorders 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million, so rare. Mm. And because of that, nobody knows exactly about these disorders. And if a patient or someone in a family is affected, they may spend many years going from one doctor to another one, from one specialist to another one, till a diagnosis is coming. In the actual time of the genomic era, with the advanced genomic testing, we've been able to diagnose a lot of rare disorders because more than 80% of them are having a genetic cause.
Okay.
And they can affect any kind of age, from newborns till seniors. They can affect any gender. It's not linked with the race, with anything. So it's linked with the particularities of the genome, who can get spontaneously changes inside that can lead to disorders. They affect multiple systems. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows about Down syndrome, that it's a trisomy of the chromosome 21, but this is the most frequent chromosomal disorder with an incidence of 1 in 700 newborns. So like Down syndrome, there are plenty other disorders much more severe and much more rare. So they affect multiple systems. They can be linked with developmental delays. They can have as feature autism or behavioral changes, but they can affect just an enzyme or a protein, and the body is looking absolutely perfect, but that person, for example, it's not able to stop a bleeding and has hemophilia, or is not able to digest particular proteins from the food and has a rare metabolic disorder. And at the first glance, you say, but this person is absolutely normal, it's beautiful, it's healthy, but cannot function, or can be a problem of an arrhythmia of the heart, that it's actually genetically determined. And person is looking absolutely well, and in a particular context of a huge effort, just suddenly death, it's happening as the first and the last symptom of a very rare genetic disease. So the difficulty with genetic disorders and rare disorders is that their appearance into what we call in genetics phenotype, something that you can see or you can detect, it's extremely variable, can affect multiple systems. People are going for different specialties, and sometimes it's difficult to put all things together. Therefore, geneticists are trained on a holistic approach, and they see through the gene window to the signs and symptoms of a body.
Right. I think I just said the labyrinth of complexity. It's very true, right, Doctor?
It is.
Looking into it.
Yeah.
You said 12 years we've been having a lot of campaigns, and let's talk a bit of this region in Bahrain. How do you think there is this awareness? Do you think it's enough? Do the common public know about such conditions? And how, is there any rare disease by name which we can really identify in Bahrain? Like,
I think it's easy to give as an example something that actually it's very rare in other parts of the world, but very common here. Everybody in Middle East, it's knowing about sickle cell disorder, right? And thalassemias. So these are actually rare genetic disorders in other parts of the world, but they are quite common
very
here.
Common in Bahrain,
because of some particularities that happened here historically hundreds years back. And the gene pool didn't change so much, so was nothing new coming from outside. And people married in between the same tribe or tribes who had the same origin. So everybody carried changes. There is nobody without a change in the genes. But if we are close with our partners, if our partners, husband or wife, are from a same family, it's increasing the risk to have the same changes, and then the risk for affected children. So in this part of the world, Bahrain is part of the GCC. So in this part of the world, there is an increased prevalence of rare disorder caused by this kind of changes, where both parents are carriers, they are absolutely healthy, they don't have symptoms, but they have high risk to have a child affected. So can be thalassemias, can be neurometabolic disorders, different kind of disorders with this kind of type of inheritance, when you need one change from a parent and an identical one from the other parent. Of course, things like that are happening in other parts of the world, but the probability to meet in the general population someone with an identical change that you carry, it's less. So knowing that, the Middle East region put a lot of efforts for, I would say, the past 50 years in trying to increase awareness about these disorders. And there are other pioneers here in Bahrain who done a lot of effort in decreasing the incidence of sickle cell with campaigns on awareness, how important is to avoid consanguineous marriages, how important is to have premarital counseling. So I would say Bahrain is one of the pioneers in the Gulf, because I know in the past 30 years, the incidence of sickle cell disease for the newborns decreased a lot. So people are aware about some disorders, but because the focus was so much into the blood disorders and sickle cell and thalassemias, they are not so much aware about other disorders who are more frequent here, but not so common like this, right? So I think there are efforts on all layers, from educational institution to stakeholders, in order to increase the awareness on the general public, how important it is to ask about your genetic risks before you decide to start a family and to have a child.
Right. How long have you been in Bahrain, doctor?
I came in 2010, so soon will be 14 years.
14 years. And all the while you have been with the Jawhara?
Yes, in Arabian Gulf University.
And I think you have a doctorate in the same topic as well, right?
Yes, I'm a medical geneticist. I'm a consultant in genetics and genomics, and I have an European board in medical genetics.
How did you take a liking? I can see there is a passion. It's beyond the academic side. I've always seen that in you. How did you take to this profession, or what brought you close to this?
Sometimes the universe is guiding your steps towards what exactly it's your vocation or what is your purpose in this life. I think somehow this profession chosen me, it's not me, into that was kind of a circumstance when I was young. As soon as I finished medicine, thinking going into the residency program and what kind of specialty to choose. And I knew what I don't want. Through the internship, I realized that it would be very difficult to deal with huge stress like emergencies, open heart, brain surgeries and things. So I said, I don't want that. I want in a specialty where, you can do a translation in between research and practice, and you can have an impact on the long term. If you can prevent a lot of conditions, then will bring a huge impact into. And I think genetics found me. And with the rare disorders, actually rare disorders are the bread and butter of a geneticist. It's your daily work. And getting to know patients and families, you are able to see things that other specialists are not, because you spend much more time in clinic in order to reach a diagnosis. You need long time to understand what the problems are there from the patient or the family. You need to build pedigrees. You need to find things that maybe that person never expressed it to other colleague in any other specialty. So you spend more time in order to reach a diagnosis, and you are able to see their life in development. And I think what I learned from this profession for the past of almost 30 years practicing is that it's not only the genes. In medicine is this debate in between nature and nurturing, right? So yes, we all are the results of these genes, how they are expressed, and we receive half from our parents, from mom and dad. But the way in which they are expressing depends a lot on the environment. And I am extremely humbled by amazing stories where the books said there is no chance for this patient to survive. The lifespan is very short, will be a lot of complications. But when that person took it on a different way and accepted, didn't continue to question what happened to me, what I can do. Do I have an option? What options are? Okay, there isn't a cure, but is it something else that can improve my life quality? Can I do, I have just a short span life. Can I do something that, to make a difference in this time? And they accepted. Their life changed. And against all odds on the books. So I learned that if we paid attention to the main cause, but we interpret it in a big context, we can do much more than putting a diagnosis, And people with rare disorders and they have a lot of disabilities, and they are beautifully called people of determination.
Yes.
And then you see the term of disability very wide with plenty spectrums. And then you look, as I said, a disease is rare till it's affecting you and someone you love. So it doesn't count how is it in the book, how the science it's looking. You need to go close, to be grounded and understand what solutions I have. Is it something that I can do? So yes, I learn a lot from my patients and the families that there are solutions and options exactly there where sometimes science it's not seeing. Now we are living an era, an exceptional era, I would say. And many times I'm saying this to my students, it's amazing. When I was a student, I couldn't dream that will be a gene therapy or a gene editing that will be able to enter inside of the gene and repair the defect. They live this era. And now we have gene therapies for some disorders and a lot of other medicine and therapies to modulate the expression of genes. So more and more research is developing and more people all over the world will be able to be helped with the recent advance of science. So it's exciting, right? You have new therapies and you have new approach, and as much you, as a team, you increase awareness, then people will accept much easier the condition that they battle with.
Right.
Many years back was very difficult for a person and a family who had a child with Down syndrome to navigate life. Now nobody is questioning when seeing a person with Down syndrome on the malls or in a gathering or something. It's taking part of a difference, part of the normality. And this is the result of awareness raised step by step over the years. So we want to reach in the same place with the other disorders, not only the most frequent one. For people to understand that we are all different, we all have strengths and weaknesses, we all have the same right to be educated, to be supported, we all want to be loved and respected and appreciated. And we are not all lucky to be born without any change in our genetic material, who is linking to a disease. And you can be born healthy and then around the age of 40 something to realize that your muscles are not strong anymore. And then you go to doctors and they do a genetic test and they found out that there is a change linked with a myopathy. And you never expected this. So what you do, you have to take solutions for that, right? You cannot deny who you are and say, now I'm a rare person now and I cannot do this and I cannot do that. And then the society will not reject you just because now you became rare. So I think it's a matter of perspective, how you look, even if it's rare or even if it's common. And you see, if something gets more into the light and general public it's knowing more about, like it's diabetes, obesity, hypertension, more people are interested to learn how you can prevent these things, how you can live better even if you have diabetes or hypertension. So we want to reach the similar status when it's about a rare disease, how you can prevent a rare disease, how you can live better, how you can help someone to accomplish the life with the capacities that has in that context of a rare condition.
That is, I think, I would say a big thanks to the exceptional era that you just mentioned about the development in terms of technology and gene therapy, as you said, it's such a groundbreaking changes that has brought into the field. And on that note, I would also, you just said people are interested to learn, to see like what can be done to our community or my community. Here I would want you to comment on the youth, because you're a teacher yourself and you have students, isn't it, in this country. How do you see the interest among the youth in Bahrain in terms of coming forward to taking up genetics as a study? Perhaps a decade or more ago, would have not even been in our realms. It was a rare choice of career or choice of academics, isn't it? How do you look at it, Doctor?
I think is an excellent change and shift into that, right? So it's starting with the fact that the amount of genetics and genomics our medical students are studying now, it's far much advanced comparing with what I learned when I was a student. Of course, I learned during residency, but they learned during medical years of training. Second, there are many options and possibilities now to go in different specialties, and they are much more interested because it's about technology. They are much more interested on a lot of things where is a glance in between research and applied technology. So genetics, biotechnology, genomics, molecular studies, bioinformatics in genomics, there are now jobs that have not been before, and they are in high demand of people very well trained. So our graduates are going, many of them, into that. And we are trying through the medical years of university to open different doors for them to see, is this something that it's interesting you or not? The reason that the Rare Disorder Campaign has as a team medical students, it's also that, because one is to learn theoretically something and one is to see it and to sense it, right? So over these 12 years, we had 100 students, medical students in different medical years, who came and been part of the campaign, and they went for all events. You'll see it if you visit us in the avenues and in the malls. You'll see the medical students from different medical years, from year 3, 4, 5, 6, as volunteers and speaking with public, delivering information, answering to their questions. And they went to schools, they went to universities, as I said, and they are kind of the messengers of our information. And many of the students who've been part of the rare disease campaigns over the years had decided to go on this kind of profession and these specialties. And we have students who finish now their post-university studies, they got their masters or PhDs, and they are coming back to serve the country.
You're talking about Bahrainis, right?
Yes, I'm speaking about Bahraini. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really a good gesture of giving back, and that the feeling, right? You're bonding with your community and doing something to the community.
True.
And such genres, I think it definitely calls for a passion beyond the...
That's true. And I think, the passion is coming by doing.
Yes.
Because when you realize that what you are doing, it's having indeed an impact and you are changing lives. I'm telling to my students, when you go to schools, it's not just you visit a school. You speak with the future adults of this country, people who will take big decisions in the years to come. When a child is learning what difference means and how to accept differences, then you are already one step ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not only delivering what is inheritance, that we look like our moms and our dads, and that some of us are more smart and some of us are more beautiful, but we are all valuable, right? It's not only about that. It's acceptance difference, and understanding that if my colleague is a bit weak, I'm there to help because I'm more powerful than him or her in this way, right? To share my capacities, to share my gifts with others. And in this way, we will be able to make a difference and bring a change in this world, right? So the campaign and everything we've been designing, it's not something that we invented. It's part of a big world movement. Rare Disease International started in 2006 in Europe and spread it all over the world. And what we are doing in Bahrain in the months of February and also in other parts of the year, but especially in February, it's not something isolated. It's part of a big world movement.
Large movement, right. And one thing before we come to the close of this chat, Doctor, support group, community, in every situation that is challenging, I think the world is proving that united we can overcome it. COVID was the best example.
Absolutely.
In rare diseases situation as well, how do you think a support group or the community can be of help? Like people like me, common, who are not even in the medical field, how can we be of help to this group?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that. I believe that each of us can do something. Sometimes only just being and saying, I understand what you pass through. Sometimes only if you spend some time on listening someone about the problems they have, or offering volunteer and helping on some chores in the house, or helping kids in school. In different ways we can do that. We had a family who told us in a different campaign, Doctor, I would like to have just 2 hours on a day to go out and just walk in a park, because my house is like a hospital. I'm working morning to be able to support my children who are affected. And I just need a time for myself. My help will be someone to stay with my kids for 2 hours. So sometimes it's not necessarily about money and about, it's about psychological, yes, emotional support. I mean, people to feel that you are empathetic with them and you are not neglecting them. You are accepting them in your community and you are giving them value for what they are as humans, not because they have a diagnosis or a rare condition. You don't look to them with pity because they cannot walk or they cannot think like other people. You offer them your support because you value them as humans. Yeah. In this regard, we opened in Jawhara Centre and HU a Care for Rare support group in 2020. During the campaign.
I think you shared with them, right?
Yes, during the COVID, when we are not able to bring communities in the center as we used to do in the past to have open evening for families. So we started to do it as a webinar online, and we got a good audience. And the good part was we've been able to put the patients in Bahrain and the community of rare people in Bahrain in contact with communities all over the world, because on web they could come and it's much easier.
Yes.
Bahrain is not so much organized like other countries in the world where there are big family associations or rare disorders associations and different kind of support group. So we've been able to put patients here in contact with different organizations all over the world and learn from what they done, because in the end nobody is inventing the wheel. And scientists and us as professionals, we can help in a lot of things, but day by day life, it's different. Right? So a doctor can say, okay, this is the diagnosis, this is the follow-up, these are the procedures, these are the treatments, these are the new therapies. I can see you at each one time in 3 months or in 6 months. But living day by day, it's something that these people are needing as support and guidance. And this you can learn only from other people who pass through the same experience like you. So coming in contact with patient associations and support group from all over the world, it's really, really very helpful. And going back on what we discussed, that these disorders sometimes are very rare, it's almost impossible to find another family or patient with the same disease in your country.
Yeah.
So you need to rely on expertise of our people all over the world, right? So I think this kind of Care for Rare support groups are really, really good. And by the way, on 22nd in the afternoon, we had an event in this way, again in Jawhara Centre, and that time was about bringing more support for adults who are having rare diseases, degenerative disorders like Huntington disease, rare chromosomal disorders who are not necessarily affected the intellectual but the other parts of the body, and how these people are navigated through life and what kind of support they need.
Interesting. Where are you from, doctor?
I'm from Romania.
Okay. And 15 years in Bahrain, right?
14, yeah.
14 years in Bahrain. Okay. So as we conclude this conversation, which was indeed enlightening and very interesting, what would be your message to Bahrain, especially with the Rare Diseases Day around the corner?
Make a difference, be a difference.
Thank you very much.
Everybody is rare and nobody is less.
Thank you very much, doctor. And yes, I think the event is called Share Your Colors, right?
Yes.
And it's very much on the Instagram.
Yes, I want to say something about this beautiful ad.
Please.
It's first time in many years when in the ad, the international poster, we have a rare person from Bahrain.
Oh.
Yes, the lady with hijab from the international poster is a patient from Bahrain.
Is this the international poster?
Yes, this is the
And
international
the one here,
poster.
the one
Yes.
in the hijab?
Yes, she's
Okay.
Bahraini. And she's very proudly representing Bahrain and the Arab community in the national
That's something
international
amazing.
poster. Yes.
Okay.
And she's part of our campaign since many years. She's coming and supporting and is sharing with the students. She is an accomplished adult. She finished her studies. She has her job. And she's really a strong advocate for what means awareness and support in rare disorders.
Very good. So please do like and follow the Rare Diseases Instagram, and the events are on 24th of February and 29th of February.
Yes.
The first one at the Avenues and the second one at the City Centre.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor, once again for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Being rare is beautiful, but not always very easy. As we heard from Dr. Cristina, it's a beautiful thing to be different, but the world becomes beautiful when we accept the differences. That's where we can contribute. So on this occasion of World Rare Diseases Day, which falls on February 29th, let's make a pledge to be different. So wait for the next inspiring, exciting and engaging guest on the next guest from the 973 show.